Okay, now good morning, everyone. Today we'll be starting the next module on organizational effectiveness for NGOs. And the module we'll be looking at for the next two classes, that's today and Thursday, will be the human resources. And today we have as our facilitator, Veronica Agana. I don't know if I pronounced that right.
Yes, you did.
Thank you so much. All right, so Veronica Ijeweche Agana is a co-founder and product lead of SoSoCare, a fintech social enterprise that offers healthcare access to millions of Nigerians who do not have insurance, using recyclables as a financial resources. Veronica has over 12 years working experience in the telecommunications sector, where she served as a human resources executive with focus on talent acquisition, customer relations in MTN Nigeria before venturing into community development sector in the last 5 years. She has led many social and environmental interventions targeted at mitigating health risk in communities, amplifying the voices of the women and youth, and inclusive education. Through our works, our team, SoSoCare, emerged winners of 2019 Healthcare Meets Tech Hackathon by Nigerian Health Watch and Epic Afrique, and also emerged third place winner, World Bank Youth Summit 2019, a current grantee of GSMA and Total Energy Startup Challenge 2021 winner, and so much more. House, with a clapping ovation, please, let's welcome Veronica Ijeweche Agana as she takes us into the human resource management of NGOs. Thank you so much, Veronica.
Thank you very much. And nice to be here with everyone. I hope we are all doing very well today. Thank you. All right, I appreciate. Like he rightly mentioned, my name is Veronica, and I think for introduction, I prefer people call me, I'm a Nigerian. For introduction, I prefer to say I am a Nigerian. And I'm glad to be in the midst of great minds like you today. And I hope we make the best use of the next few days we'll be sharing together. And it's not exhaustive, but we would like to touch as much as we can. And hopefully we would adopt some of the measures we are going to be sharing together in our individual organizations and see how we can leverage on the knowledge we are going to share from my point as a presenter and also from the conversation we will be sharing with all the participants here and see how we can develop best practices for our individual organizations. Sorry, I'm trying to project my screen and I don't have the access. Can you make that possible? Thank you.
Yeah, already given you, I gave you, just a minute, please.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, you have the co-host access. Hello?
I'm with you.
Yeah, can you try it again? I already made you a co-host.
Okay, probably you try my other account. Yes, okay. The laptop. I think
Okay,
the one with the co-host is the mobile.
Okay, the mobile phone. Okay, let me get that done then. Just a minute.
All right.
All right, done.
Okay. Okay, can you see my screen now, team?
Okay, yeah, we can see it.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right.
As an opener, for every
Hello.
person seated, and in all we do, both as individuals or as entities, maybe from the family or from the home, from the community, wherever we find ourselves, there is whatever amazing venture or organization we are setting up, and we do not take cognizance of the people side, then whatever it is we are building is definitely bound to suffer. So for us in HR practice, we try to encourage people as much as they can, people, organizations, communities, to be very conscious in developing a structure around your operations, the people side of your operations. So whether for profit or not for profit, the key elements that will shape the success of what you do will definitely rest on the people that will run the day-to-day operations of your entity. So for not-for-profits, before venturing out, irrespective of how big or small your operations is, it's good to have structure around what we do. And for you to be able to build a very successful human operations for your organization, then there will be need to have a key understanding of what the people are and what they will be doing. A lot of organizations struggle with the people side of their business. Why? Because they may have the resources, but they are yet to have an understanding of what the people will be doing for the organization. Sometimes you need to understand at a standpoint, the people I have, are they enough? Do I have excess human capital? Do I have a shortfall? Do I need to take talent from this operating unit to another operating unit? So as a business leader, it will be advisable to always, at the back of your mind, have a clear-cut picture of who the people you work with are and what they will be contributing individually to your organization. So the purpose of this first session we are having today is to examine the strategic view of human resources in your non-for-profit organizations. and then how you are going to build the culture that will shape how you run your organization, and then how the importance of diversity and inclusion plays a role in the success of your organization. So the objectives will be to access and build organizational capacity, to manage an organization in an, sorry, I'm unable to see that. Then also how you're going to build a culture for a high performing team, and then also state the importance of diversity. So I don't know if there's anyone here who can tell us about his or her organization. I just need one person to tell us about the people he or she currently has, and if he or she feels there is anything he or she is not doing right with respect to the people he or she currently have. Okay, Veronica Eze, go ahead, you can speak.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Well, I run a rehabilitation home. It's a profit making and anyway, but I still have section of it that is not profit making. Presently, I feel I'm not well structured. My organization is not really well structured, but not that we don't have different people. We have doctors that visit, we have psychologists, we have the lower workers. But I have this quest and I desire to know more about how I could structure it to the standard of when somebody gets to an organization, you will actually, I mean, the picture of structure I'm looking at, I will say I don't have them. I don't have it yet, but I have what it takes, yes, to assess health. Maybe
Thank
after this program, I'll be better person there.
All right. Hopefully, we would address your concerns. Okay. Awal Yunusa, you can speak. Thank you.
Yeah. I was trying to, my own case is that what I have, the problem I have is that I have the resources, I have the people.
All right. Any challenge with what you currently have?
You cannot pay them salary. So it is when you get a grant, you call them back to come and work. Maybe when you have some work to do or a voluntary work to do, then that was the time you call them. So we don't have that kind of structure where we can keep people based on salary or based on the idea of to be paying them some intensive, because you have to let them go and work. But I have resources, so my staff as like volunteer, most of them, I just keep them as volunteers because I don't have the means to pay them. So how do you think?
Thank you very much. Okay, we will be addressing your concerns. For Awal, he is struggling with his HR budget, and the budget is either to keep a full-time employee or to engage employees on a part-time basis based on the availability of funds to cater for his payroll. Am I right, Yunusa? Okay, so we shall proceed. First, in today's session, we will be talking about, just a moment, sorry. Okay, all right. we will be talking about one, what do you even understand by human resources in the first instance? Human resources, sorry, I'm not going to be using a dictionary or a professional definition because I want to come down to the barest minimum so that we won't be too overwhelmed with, let me use this word, permit me, big grammar and then miss the core of the message. Human resources has to do with having the right kind of people in your organization at the right time and also performing the right responsibility, the right roles and responsibilities. So if you as an individual or as an organization wake up today and say, I want to start this organization. So I'll try to limit my conversation around not-for-profits. If today you start and decide that you want to run a not-for-profit, first, you have to identify what is your mission, what is your vision for your not-for-profit. When you decide the mission and your vision and your objectives for your not-for-profit, you are going to decide. I will appreciate if you can mute your calls, please. Thank you. There's an interference on the call. All right. Now, when you come to set up your organization, what will this organization be doing? Then when you have made up your mind, this is what we want to do as an organization, next, you will decide what do I need to fulfill the mission and the vision of this organization. That is where you begin to put strategies in place on how you're going to achieve the mission and vision of your organization. And to drive the mission and mission and vision of the organization, who will help in driving the mission and vision of this organization. Now, when you have made up your mind about the mission and vision, then you will decide to, then you will decide
Hello? Hello? Is Veronica?
I hear you.
I'm with you.
Hello? The network seems bad. We can't hear you.
We can hear you. We can hear you, ma'am.
Okay. Is anybody having similar challenge?
No, we can hear you.
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you. Miss Veronica, I can hear you.
It's all right.
Network seems bad.
We stopped hearing you when you said then we will decide.
Please, we can't hear you from here.
Okay. Hello. Is it a common challenge or just specific persons that can't hear me, please?
Hello, ma'am. I think
we can hear you.
Okay. Majority can hear me, so we take it that maybe from your location.
I can hear you clearly now.
All right, can you please mute your call so that we can proceed? Thank you. Good. All right. For you as the leader of the organization, if you're working in the education space, it will make your work easier if you, from the point of inception, select employees who will work and help achieve your goal in addressing education concerns. Take, for example, you want to work on the area of out-of-school children. You will need people who are knowledgeable about education, knowledgeable about what out-of-school children, the menace of out-of-school children. Then you will recruit based on applicants who have the requisite experience to help you drive your vision or mission about dealing with the issues of out-of-school children. This is just one example out of many, okay? Now, if you want to run a successful organization, you have to look at what is your intent. That is, be strategic. That means you are definite. When I talk about strategic, that means you have an intent, and then you go all out, bring out all the resources, all the strategies that will help you achieve that. So let's say, for example, in the short term, you want to take 100 out of school children back to school in the next 1 year. That is like a short-term goal. Then you want to take 500 out of school children back to school in the next 5 years. That's midterm. Then in the next 10 years, probably you want to take 2,000 out of school children back to school. So when you are recruiting, you look at it that will be with me for the next one year. How many of the staff I'm recruiting will be
Veronica. Hello. Hello.
There's no more audio. I don't know if I'm the only one having that issue. Miss Veronica, I can't hear you.
I'm back.
I can hear you.
Okay.
I can
Yeah,
hear
please.
you.
I think
All right, hold on, please.
your network is fluctuating.
Yeah, sorry, a call came in. So,
All
yeah, sorry for the interruption. Okay, as I was saying before the interruption, your intent has to be definite. This is what I want to achieve. So like the example I made with the short-term, medium-term, and long-term goal, when it comes to recruiting the resources that will help you achieve your mission and your vision, if you intend to cover the 500 in the next 5 years, and then probably you only recruit people who will stay for just a few months on volunteer basis and leave, you know, it will definitely affect your medium term and your long term goal. The challenge is people are just there on a time, people leave. So if you're going to have to achieve out of years, and then you keep recruiting only those who will stay for 3-4 months and they leave, definitely it's going to affect your work. So there are some key roles in your organization that you have to be deliberate about the kind of people who will be working with you on that. Am I clear? So for a business leader, or let's use, for example, an executive director or a programs manager in your organization, you have to look and know who is fit for what particular role because of the mission of your organization. So if you have a long-term goal and you have the wrong talent occupying such roles, by the time they are leaving your organization, the resources you would have invested in them lives with them. So at the point of departure, you will find out that you don't have another employee to take up from them. And then at that point, you begin to ask yourself, if I had known, I should have gotten someone who is going to stay for a longer time. So that doesn't mean that you will stop people from aspiring to go for better opportunities, but it would be nice to have employees who believe in your vision and who want to build your vision with you. So you will not take somebody who is there on a temporary basis to fill a very critical role in your organization. Okay? Then, using this scenario I have just shared with you, then there is what we call your strategic objective. There should be a working document that should guide your manpower planning over any period of time. Manpower planning helps you to know the right talent for the right role, or make plans such that at every point in time in the life cycle of your organization, you have the right people for the right role. For new organizations or existing organizations, I don't expect you to have 100% of a strategic manpower planning, but if you do not have, after this session today, it's a very important document that you should have. That means even if you don't have, or even if you have one already, from the conversation we'll be having today, it will be nice for you to go back and review that document and ensure that you have a working document such that at every point in time in the life cycle of your organization, your manpower planning would help you to actually have the right resources available, so that even at the point of exit, there should be somebody that is already prepared in place to take over from whoever is exiting your organization. Now, in manpower planning, let me use for example, a small scale organization, which I would take it that most of us participants here have between 1 to 5 employees. Now, for example, in a small NGO, you could have the executive director, you could also have the programs officer, you should also have someone responsible for your staff that will be responsible for you having to recruit your talents at every point in time. And sometimes for small organization, you should have someone that could double as responsible for payroll, like salaries and all of that. Then you should have someone that should manage the administrative side of your business, and also have someone who will manage the operations. I'm using a very small NGO setup, for example. Why? Because the person responsible for programming will be focused more on day-to-day how your organization is achieving its mission and vision. So he will be responsible for designing programs that will help you achieve your mission and your vision. Now, the person in charge of human resources would work with your executive director to ensure that at every point in time, the people that will help the programs unit to be able to carry out their function are readily available, be it full-time staff or part-time staff, be it volunteer staff. But depending on the capacity of your organization and your capacity to also finance whether employees on short-term basis, which we call part-time, or on full engagement, which we call full-time employees, that person would help the CEO, the executive director, to be sure that at every point in time you have enough resources to be able to carry out your organization's, let's say, advocacy program. If at the point of going for a program at the community, for example, you don't have enough resources, you find yourself stressing out, one person doing so many, playing so many roles, and then in the long run, it wears you out, and then you're not able to get the best out of your organization's programs. Then you need one person for operations. The operations will be responsible to ensure that all the function units, all the business units are contributing as they should. So he or she is going to ensure that the admin unit is doing their work, the programs unit are doing their work, the advocacy team are working with the programs unit, and ensuring that there is no overlap of roles and responsibility. That way, you don't expend so much energy doing or duplicating functions or blaming each other why this task that ought to have been concluded last week has been made to spill over into the new week. Are we clear on that? Hello?
No.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am, we are clear, ma'am.
Okay, so can I proceed?
Yes, you can.
Yes, you can.
All right, thank you. So for organizations, if you don't have a clear-cut strategy, that means you're being deliberate, you are being definite you're being specific about what your organization wants to achieve or not achieve within a specific time frame. If you don't have that strategy in place, then you will find out that you expend so much energy doing so many things and achieving very little result. So like the example of the small NGO I used, every one of us present in this session at the end of the day, we need to take a step back and ask ourselves these 4 critical questions. Who are we as an organization? What are we trying to accomplish as an organization? What kind of industry are we serving? And what is the mission? In serving these people, what is our mission? What do we really want to achieve? Then you look at yourself and ask yourself, where are we right now? And where do we want to be in future? You know, remember earlier I mentioned having a short-term goal and then the long-term goal. And I started off with having to cater for 100 out-of-school children. Then we are going to cater for 500 out-of-school children in the medium term, and then in the long term, you're going to cater for 2,000 out-of-school children. That is what it means that you're being strategic, that at the end of year 1, we meet our 100 out-of-school children goal. At the end of 5 years, we meet our 500 out-of-school children goal. Then at the end of 10 years, we meet our 2,000 out-of-school children goal. Why do you do this? It's because children and at the level of 2,000 out of school children. So if you are targeting 2,000 out of school children from today, or from the moment you make up your mind that this is what we want to do, you will start planning. That is what your strategic intent should address. That at this level in future, we hope to have maybe instead of 5 employees, at that point, maybe your employee strength will have increased from 5 to maybe 12, if not more for some organizations, depending on your capacity to handle their payroll. So in planning for your strategic intent, all your business unit, both the programs unit, the admin unit, the operations unit, and then your executive director's office, you are going to be strategic about how each of these business units will contribute to the overall goal of meeting the 2,000 out of school children that we are using in context. So depending on what you are doing and in your organization and what you want to achieve in future, always have it in mind that you are all contributing to an overall goal, and you have to be strategic, you have to be intentional about what you do at the individual business unit and then collectively as an organization. So because there are different ways for you to develop your strategic plan for your organization, then you need to set up a core team that will be responsible for developing your strategic objective. And how do you do that? As a suggestion, you can get a representative from each of your business units. For example, with the 5-member organization are used as an example in context, the head of programs, the head of the human resources unit, the head of the operations unit, and also the head of the admin unit will sit together and do what we call brainstorming session. The brainstorming session gives you room to ask all the whys and all the hows. How do we achieve this goal? And then all the business units will now decide, this is what we want to do, and this is what we will need. So at the brainstorming session, it's going to be something that you have to lay bare on the table, all the resources you need, even the challenges, even the risk involved in doing your operations. That way, the business leader, that's your executive director or CEO, depending on the nomenclature in your organization, will have access to all the information needed to come up with a working document that will serve all the organization's mission and vision. At this point, it is not cast in stone. It is a working document. That means it is subject to change. But what it means is that at the back of your mind, you know that whatever things we do in our day-to-day operations, there is a document that backs us. There is a document that guides us. Why? Because if you don't have this document that guides you, what it means is that you will be working out of context. And probably at the time you're going to notice that you are having issues, you must have derailed from what your mission and your vision for your organization says. Okay? Then we are talking about, next, we are talking about strategic positioning. I don't know if anyone here can tell me anything pertaining positioning, not based on what we have on the slide, but what is your thought on positioning or strategic positioning? Anybody? Hello? Hello?
Hello, I can hear you, ma'am.
Okay, Foluke Ademokun, go ahead.
Thank you so much. When you said we should share our thoughts, so these are just my thoughts. My thought about strategic positioning, is also about branding and rebranding. It's about maybe reviewing where you are, your status, and having, a place in mind that you want to take your organization. We have seen brands that have been maybe over decades, trying to rearrange themselves and conform with the dictates of the time that they are in. I know of even First Bank, some banks, don't let me give a name now, and some multinationals, they've, maybe touch their logo and also change, their objectives and the way they do business in order to at least align with the time that they are in, maybe in terms of technology and all of that. That's just my thought, that it's when you position, when you think strategically, you are thinking in terms of where your brand will be and how that relates to other brands, and how the essence of it is maybe for market share for those who are in business. Those are my thoughts. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Literally, positioning has to do with how you place yourself as an organization. That is, how well do you place yourself in the marketplace? For example, in your sphere of operation, how well do you position yourself? Or take, for example, if you hear of organizations like Society for Family Health, for example, they have positioned themselves in a way that for people who are knowledgeable about SFH, you know that they are one of the pioneers of HIV programming in Nigeria, right? So for you as an organization, when people hear of your organization, what would your organization be known for? That means in your early stage or at the point of inception of your operations, or when you want to set up your organization, you need to be specific. What will we be known for? Okay. So as part of planning process, like from the time you conceptualize, I want to start up this organization, I want to do this, I want to do that, you must position yourself to be known for something. But sometimes when you position yourself, in reality, you are faced with challenges and then you're not able to function as you proposed, right? How well are you suited to adapt when issues arise? Take, for example, a lot of us during the COVID-19 incidents in 2020, in our wildest dream, we never had it in mind that a time will come when we will be restricted and barred from going out or stopping our operations. But we found ourselves in such a situation. So as an organization, what do you do when you find yourself in such a situation that stops you from functioning? Right? Again, when we all got back from the lockdown era and all of that, we needed to, as an organization, because we didn't have that, or we never had the premonition that it was going to happen, we never had that plan in our organizational plans. But because it has happened, we should always have it at the back of our mind and include it in our organizational plans that should incidences like this happen, we should do this. Let's be intentional about it. And that will now boil down to the kind of staff or employees we have for our organization. So in our plans, we should factor in that when operations shut down, what next? Or if we fail to meet our mission and vision, what next? So your team will need to go back to the drawing board and decide, if this happens, what next? At the end of year one, we said we were going to take back 100 out of school children off the street back to school. Now COVID happened. We are not able to achieve that. What do we do next? Are we going to reduce our 100 target from 100 and make it 50, probably because for the better part of the year, there was restriction, no schools was in session and all of that. That has affected our organizational mission and vision. So your employees will sit back and decide and factor the fact that an eventuality occurred, so we are not able to meet our target, but the work needs to continue. So instead of having 100 targets for the business year, we will do maybe 40. That way, your business has responded to the eventuality. Yes, the target will not be met, but it didn't stop our operations completely. When conditions improved, you are now able to continue from where you stopped instead of missing out completely and not doing anything. Do you get? So next we'll be talking about how we determine key strategic human resource issues. Okay, so I will be talking about what we should do when issues arise, and then how do we address them. So the kind of questions that should be running through our mind should be, does management walk the talk when it comes to core values? So before we even address this, as an organization, what are your core values? When you want to talk about core values, what you mean are those key issues that you hold dear as an organization. You can take, for example, excellence is a core value for your organization. Teamwork is a core value for your organization. So if, for example, we have excellence and then teamwork as a core value for your organization, is your management held accountable in ensuring that these core values are being adhered to throughout your operations? Do you demonstrate excellence when you want to take out of school children back to class? Do you demonstrate team spirit when you go out for your advocacy? If not, then it means that something fundamental is wrong with your organization and you need to address it. So operations team will figure out how do we address it and make all employees in the organization align with our core values of excellence and teamwork in what we do. Again, you look at, does the organization have skills to accomplish its strategic goals? Strategic goals, like we want to meet 100 out of school children by the end of 2022, for example. What are the skills that we require for us to be able to meet these 100 out of school children? First, you even have to understand your operating environment. Where do you want to carry out this intervention? Is out of school children a menace in the location you want to carry out this intervention, for example? If you set up a program in a location where it will be difficult to access out of school children, what it means is that you may have to travel to a further location to have access to these out of school children. And if you are going to go to a further location, what it boils down to is that your expenses will increase. Do you see how interconnected these decisions you make affect what you do and the skill set you should have in your organization? So at the point of setting up your program by your programs unit, your HR unit, and also your operations unit, and probably your admin unit, we look at it that, oh, we want to run this program. What is the cost of running this program? At that point, they will identify that, oh, we don't have out-of-school children in our immediate operating environment. We may have to travel to local government away to access these out-of-school children. Now, in designing the program, probably the budget had it that you're going to have your out-of-school children in your immediate operating environment. But you later identify or discover that these out-of-school children, for you to have access to them, you may have to travel to local governments away. That way, it has changed the budget. So if you have good or qualified human resources in your organization, at the point of designing the program targeted at the 100 out-of-school children, they will identify that we have a challenge. In our community, we don't have out-of-school children. For us to run this intervention, we need to travel to 2 local governments away. That way, at the initial stage, this problem has been identified and resources have been made available to address this. Are we getting this? So, in your human resources, be very intentional about the kind of persons you recruit to manage your human resources, because that way they take off a lot of burden from you regarding the skill set required for all other business units. And then there are times you find yourself in a situation that my budget does not have enough resources for me to have a permanent hand. It's okay, it's part of business life. So what organizations do is they outsource some of their operations. If we are very observant, we look at most banks, for example, their security unit is not being run by them. What they have done is, because security issues is not their core strength, they have partnered with other organizations who have better capacity at managing security operations. So instead of them handling the issues of security, they hand over that operation to an organization who has a better expertise in managing security issues, so that they can focus on other issues that are more strategic to their banking operations. So at some point in your business life, you will be forced to take such decisions. So next, we will be talking about organizational structure. Does anybody have anything to contribute?
Hello, good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Hi. Hello? Yes, can you hear me? Hello? Hello? Can you hear me? Okay, I was asking our next session, sorry, our next topic for this session, we'll be talking about organizational structure. So is there anyone who can tell us anything he or she understands by organizational structure? Okay, Veronica. All right.
Yes. The idea I have is the way your organization is structured. Whether it is CEO you use or president, and then you have the admin, you have the PR, just all those people that matters in your organization based on their ranking to the last cleaner in the office.
See our president at different people.
Okay, that's fine. Daniel.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Good day.
Morning.
Yeah. What I understand by organizational structure is, can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
These are the structure of the organization, what the company needs to function accurately from the owner of the company, the structure that runs, the program that runs from the owner of the company, which comprises of the policy of the company down to the scratch. I think
All
that's
right.
what.
Thank you very much. Thank you to the two contributors. From a standpoint of you, the head of the organization, at the back of your mind, you should always have a picture of the different business units you will have in the organization and who should occupy which business unit and how many people do you need to make that business unit to function efficiently. That is what organizational structure is all about. I don't want to get into specifics because it's quite a broad topic, but for our understanding, you have to look at it in the simplest form. Once you get it right at the simplest level, and depending on your business need, you can modify to suit the reality of your business. So we are going back to our first example, the five employee business or organization that we were using as an example earlier. Now, for our 5 employee, we have the executive director, we have the head of HR, we had the head of programs, we had the admin, and we had the operations. Now, that is a structure in its simplest form. But you know that If the organization is going to run a program, for example.
Hello, good afternoon. Please, can you recap on what you just said? I didn't get that clearly.
Come again?
Can you recap?
All right, can you hear me, please?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay. I said organizational structure is just a picture of the business unit you have and who should function in each of these business units. And I made reference to the small NGO we were using as an example. That first we have the executive director, then we have the person in charge of operations, we have the person in charge of programs, we had the person in charge of human resources, and we had the person in charge of admin. Now, if the programs team want to carry out an advocacy at the community, for example, for a small organization, you will find out that one person will be carrying out more than one function. It's understandable, right? But in the ideal sense of it, when programs team want to carry out a function like advocacy at the community, they will definitely need extra hands. Do you get? So for such organization, you will make do with volunteers, for example, or interns to carry out that advocacy, right? Now the volunteers and the interns may be on your payroll, right? But outside of the staff coming from your organization, for you to effectively carry out advocacy at the community, you need to make linkages with the community you are going to carry out advocacy with. So you're going to get a community representative. You are also going to get maybe woman leader or youth leader. That way you are being inclusive and giving stakeholders to become part of the process. If you really want to succeed in any advocacy work you're going to do at any community, that community must be represented. So if the community feels excluded from your program, you will not get the best out of the program. So that way, in designing your program, always have it at the back of your mind that you need to extend invitation to some select key holders in the community. That way they will help you to be able to conduct your programs seamlessly and even provide protection for you while you're running the program at the community. So those community representatives, they are not your staff, but they are essential for you to carry out your advocacy work successfully, right? So for your organizational structure, you have your in-house staff, and then you have external stakeholders. So the stakeholders are not definite. Depending on the project you want to carry out or the program you want to run, the stakeholders can be modified. So for every program you run, you take it as a product. Product in the sense that for a for-profit organization that is into buying and selling, for example, you will need to tell us what you are selling. For example, you want to sell Nestle bottled water. You have the 75 cl, you have the 150 cl, that's the 1.5 liter. These are products that are tangible, you can see, you can feel them. But when it comes to not-for-profit organization, most of our products are service-oriented. So people cannot see them. People may not be able to feel them, but at the end of the program, they should be able to know that a change has occurred, either in their level of information around your advocacy has increased or decreased, and all of that. Do you get? So for every program you're doing, it is a product, and you should be very specific about what you want to do, how you want to do it, when you want to get it done, and the resources. That means from your office internally and then externally, your stakeholders. Let them have a common understanding of what you're doing. That way you will be able to measure the impact of whatever programming you're doing. Do you get? So now we are talking about, next, we are talking about matrix organization. Matrix organization, in a nutshell, is that you have different business units with different functions that may overlap. Matrix organizations or matrix organizational structure means that, for example, our 5-man small NGO, right? In a matrix setting, you're going to have the CEO engaging the operations department. You will see the CEO, the ED engaging the programs department. You're going to have the ED engaging the admin department. Same with the human resources. You'll be engaging the programs department. Okay, you are going for a community engagement. How many people are you going with? How many people do you need? Do we need more people or do we need fewer people? The HR will be engaging the admin department. Okay, for you in admin, the programs team will need so and so materials for their next engagement. Kindly make these resources available to them. Okay, if you look at it, you will see that there is a cross-function interconnectedness between these business units and the next. Okay, then we have a boundaryless organizational structure. This way, organizations are less restricted in their engagements with each other. For a matrix organization, there is always this control in the flow of information or interaction. For example, the executive director will not just go to the programs team and boycott the head of programs to engage a member of the program team. He or she will have to go through the head of programs to have access to the member of the programs team. That is how it functions in a matrix organization. But in a boundaryless organization, for example, everybody have access to each other, but I wouldn't advise this. Why? Because there is need for a form of control or a form of structure around flow of communication, so that when issues arise, you will be able to hold someone accountable for why things didn't work out the way they were planned, or why did we have this negative reaction, which could have been controlled internally before allowing external stakeholders have access to such information, right? And then boundaryless organization is more in theory than in practice. Why? Because if you practice this, then you will be faced with a lot of issues that you will have to be managing information flow or issues like that. Then for modular organizations, modular means more of in clusters, right? If any of you here has been a part of maybe Accelerator Network, you will realize that in recent times, Nigeria has actually been creating a lot of innovation hubs, accelerator hubs, where a group of different organizations come together, share costs of running the business operation from the same office location. They are different organizations, but domiciled in one office location. That's the best I can use to actually explain this mode. So if you look at what we have on the screen there, one disadvantage is that management doesn't have control over the organization. What it means is that each of these individual organizations still have their identity, but they, by virtue of them operating from the same location, they have some of their, like they are accountable to some extent to the hub, but it doesn't interfere with their core operations. Then with the advent of COVID-19, we have now virtual organizations, partnerships, and alliances like what we are currently doing. Before the advent of COVID, I'm sure this would have been an in-person session, but with the advent of COVID, it has given us insight to see that we can carry out most of these functions via Zoom, Google Meet, and a host of others. So for this last option, cellular organization, if you have done biology in time past, right? Our basic biology, the basic unit of life is the cell. So cellular organizations are structured after that, okay? Cellular organization means that you function alone, but you need other entities for you to be able to function efficiently. In an ideal world, no man is an island. No organization can function alone. Every organization needs other organization in one way or the other for them to be able to achieve their organizational goal. So for organizations, the reality of the day for all of us here today is that we need to evolve. We need to adapt to change. The reality of the day is that we need to adopt technology in our operations. We need to be innovative. We need to partner. We need to reach out. No individual organization has everything that will make it function. No, you can operate in your little way, but you need to reach out. And one thing I have always suggested for organizations or individuals I mentor is that please leverage on peer learning experience. I would recommend this to all organizations who are just starting off or who are like a year or two in their operations. This is how peer learning works for organizations. For instance, I am new in NGO. I don't have the capacity to even recruit professional staff for my organization. And then I have a sister organization that has spent like 5-10 years. You know, on the level of experience, they are ahead of me. So instead of taking me 5-10 years for me to learn firsthand what they have used 5 to 10 years to learn, I will send my employees over. I will send maybe my programs staff to pair with their program staff. I will send my admin staff to go to a sister organization to pair with their admin staff. That way, my staff is going to leverage on their strength and learn practically firsthand all I need to function efficiently as a program staff or as an admin staff. So instead of taking me 5 years to learn all that it is they have used 5 years to learn, in 2 weeks, 1 month peer learning exercise, they are going to have a one-on-one engagement with a peer in the sister organization. And in a span of 2 weeks to 1 month, for example, you're able to gain insight into the processes, procedures of getting your operations done. Then if there is anything lacking in your organization, the host organization will be able to put you through, and you're going to be the better off for it in the shortest time. Thank you. So we are going to stop here for today's session. I have encroached into our question and answer time. So we have 26 minutes to run the question and answer session. So I hope we are able to cover as much as possible within this short time. Okay, Daniel, over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much for a wonderful section, and I really appreciate your time and your understanding. But I would just want to ask, this particular process,
okay,
for essential project.
Sorry, I've lost you. I can barely hear you.
Or compact is
Please
applied
come
in
again.
both. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Can you hear me, please?
Yes, go ahead.
Hello?
Hello? I'm with you, go ahead. Hello, Mr. Daniel.
Is it clear now?
Yes.
Okay. Can I be heard?
Yes.
Okay. So I was saying, my question is, in terms of essential project management and company structure, is it the same organizational structure you use in both capacity? That's my question.
Your question is in terms of program.
Projects, essential project management.
Okay, essential project management.
Yes.
Is it the same as organizational?
Yes.
Okay. It depends. If your organizational team can function in the same capacity as your programs, then you can. And then if you have the capacity to recruit staff for your programming in terms of budgetary allowance, if your budget allows you to be able to recruit core staff for your programming, please go for it. Daniel, are you clear? Okay, Foluke, go ahead with your question.
Thank you. I just want you to help, participants with how can somebody, or how can a leader or an executive director recognize when the informal organizational structure is taking over the formal structure, because it happens all of the time. All you are saying here today is about the formal structure, but sometimes you find out that most organizations is the informal structure that operates. Somebody who can be a secretary, and yet that person is more powerful or doing more things than maybe a project manager, things like that. How can, within an organization, how do you recognize that the informal structure is taking over the
Please, you need to be more audible. Thank you.
Hello?
Yes.
Can you hear me now? Yeah, the question I'm asking is that how, you need for you to help everybody here. to identify when the informal structure is taking over the formal structure and what can be done, to address that. Because it happens in most organizations that what you see on paper is different from what operates. Somebody who is at the lower level, sometimes they are taking decisions even without the knowledge of top level people, or they are assigned, some responsibility that are outside of their scope. Thank you.
All right. Your question is, at what point will the informal sector taking over from the formal structure, right?
Yeah, the informal structure, not sector, the structure, the organogram, organizational structure. What you are telling us is formal, but we know that sometimes the informal structure, dominates, in most of the organizations. So it's not like what's on paper. Maybe if you have to share, how do you recognize when that is happening? And if that is happening in your organization, what do you do to address it? Thank you.
It's all right. Your concern is when informal is taking over the formal, it all boils down to you as a leader. What are the structures you have in place that will help mitigate the impact of the informal on your own internal process? Take, for example, from my presentation, you will look at it as something more organized. That was why I started off with the example of the organization that has just 5 employees, just to bring it to the barest minimum, which I know that the bulk of the organizations represented here fall into that category by assumption. So if the informal is overshadowing the formal structure, you have your strategic team, right? From the beginning of our presentation, we have what we call the strategic human resources planning at the beginning of the presentation. What this does is that you have to be deliberate, you have to be intentional about your operations. That is why whoever you're bringing on board, there are strategies you need to do to let them align with what you do as an organization. Once anybody you're bringing into your organization doesn't align with what you do as an organization, they will disrupt what you do. And if you don't place a control over it, then you will notice that over time, the disparity between what you stand for and what you are actually doing will be in opposition. So if you have this challenge, don't say because you are a small business or a small organization, it will not happen. No, it's part of business life. That is why organizations spend resources in doing research and development. That is why organizations set aside a unit in charge of their strategy. But for you, as a small business owner, you can groom your operations team to function in that capacity. Your head of all your business units, they must be in sync. They must work towards a common goal. What you have in your strategy document may not be 100% practicable, but your strategy team will ensure that the difference will not be much. It will be minimal. And it's advisable you review this document at intervals, let's say every quarter or biannually or annually, depending on what works for your organization, so that this informal structure does not override what you were what you designed to work for you formally. There should be a control over it, please. Thank you. Okay. Mohammed Tagarji, you can ask your question.
Okay, my question is, what is human resource and how it relates to the development of the organization? This is my question. The human resource itself and how it relates to the development of the organization.
Okay, your question is how human resources relates to the development of your organization, right?
Yes, that's my question.
Good. For every organization, your development plan is what we literally should be. Who are we? What am I? Where am I going to? How do I get there? So for the development of your organization, it doesn't happen overnight. It happens over a period of time. And take, for example, like a child that is born today will crawl, will learn to walk, will learn to run before it learns to fly. That is what an organization also looks like, or what an organization should be. You need people to make this happen, right?
Yes.
So for your organization to develop, you must be strategic in recruiting the kind of people that will make your organization what you envision. If you don't put the people with the right mindset, with the right talent, with the right skill set, then you will struggle in the long run. That is why organizations wake up one day and tell you they are downsizing. Organizations wake up one day, say they are doing reshuffling. Do you get? It is all strategies put in place by organizations to ensure that they don't derail from their development plan. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so from the chat, we have a question from, hold on. Okay, we have what are the skill sets required to recruit a HR manager? Okay, for recruiting a HR manager, first thing is the educational qualification. The person should have a degree in business administration or a master's degree in business administration. Okay, it can be MSc or MBA. MBA for some academic institutions have 3 specializations. Those who specialize in human resources management, those who specialize in financial management, and those who specialize in entrepreneurship. So you should go for someone with an MBA with specialization in human resources management. Then apart from having this educational qualification, the human resources manager, after the executive director or CEO of the organization, is one of the most important person of the organization. Why? Because whoever is coming into the organization or leaving the organization will pass through the human resources manager. So another skill set required for a human resources manager should be someone who is a people person. When I say people person, what I mean is this: the person should be friendly. The person should be able to manage crisis. The person should also be able to develop policies, processes, and procedures around your operations. These are the few key elements the HR manager should possess to be able to function efficiently. Then Chinyere Cecilia asked a question in the chat. In an organization, there's a human resources policy that the organization should abide. What can the management do if the CEO of an organization is not abiding by the policy, by the provisions contained in the HR policy? All right, Chinyere, thank you for bringing this up. This is very, very common in Nigerian-owned small businesses. I'm sorry to say it, but that is what it is in reality. And HR managers are always at loggerheads with business owners and CEOs for them to actually follow rules and regulations. For us HR practitioners, we are there to provide the guidelines and to ensure that organization staff follow these policies, rules, and regulations, and all the policies in place. But most business owners or most CEOs of organizations, for example, are, let me say, products of providence, divine providence, by virtue of maybe inheritance, by virtue of luck for some people, by virtue of connections. This is very common in Nigeria, but that doesn't stop HR from carrying out his or her function. So if you find yourself in such a situation, my advice is this: always document, because a time will come when your documentation will be the evidence that will save you. Take, for example, for organizations who are supposed to be doing remittance to FIRS and other regulatory bodies, we have a lot of organizations who ought to be paying their tax and other government statutory payments like pension and all of that. But we have CEOs who will instruct their organizations not to pay. Why? Because there's no penalty or they won't be caught. You as a HR professional is to ensure that the right thing is being done. That is why you're there. But we find HR professionals finding themselves in a tight corner, so to speak, because the boss, the CEO, has refused to comply. So for you to be on the safe side, I would say document your process and have one-on-one engagement with your CEO to ensure that the right thing is being done all the time. But if after doing all of this and sometimes these CEOs refuse to do these things because they don't know the implication. So if they know the implication of not following the policies and procedures, at the end of the day, they know it's going to affect them. Maybe government coming to shut down their business and all of that, or paying multiple times over than what they were supposed to pay ideally, then they may be forced to adjust. And then I think we have a weakness in our system. Corporate Affairs Commission that registers businesses is supposed to have a system in place that will train business owners on right business practices. This is lacking, but doesn't stop individual organizations from going out of their way and reaching out to senior or sister organizations like the peer learning I mentioned earlier. No man is an island. Kindly reach out to more structured organizations, ask questions. How do you get these things done? I'm sure you will find a lot of organizations who will volunteer information of the right things to do.
All right. Thank you so much, Veronica.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure we all got value for attending today's class. So if you know you got value for today's class, can I just see a thumb up on the screen? All right, there are 5, only 5 people. Oh, okay. Okay, you got from Farouk clapping. All right. So Veronica, I want to say a very big thank you for this wonderful session you have with us today. We say in the usual way that God will bless you. I wouldn't know. I think I'm seeing 2 hands up. I don't know if they have a question. I think we still have about 6 minutes. Okay.
Yes,
So okay. So Vivian Ebere. Okay, I think she has put down hands. Let me just quickly.
Okay, we have someone from Oshogbo window.
Yeah.
America.
Okay, Oshogbo, can you go ahead and ask your question? Afterwards,
After that, we have Nkiru.
Nkiru, yes.
Thank you.
Oshogbo, go ahead, please.
All right, thank you. During the strategic planning section, you talked about each unit coming together to talk about what they intend to achieve, their goals and mission. Is there like a template to that documents the job descriptions and the key performance indication so that there will not be job overlap in the organization? Because people start seeing or for the very first time, I don't know the kind of, they might have idea of what they intend their employees to do, but they might not know the real description and the key performance indication to know if they're actually doing the job right. So what I'm asking is there like a template or like a sample that can help to go about that?
Okay, your question is if there is a template for the strategy for the organization, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
There is usually a template, but it's not cast in stone. Every business needs to do their SWOT analysis. That means you identify your strengths, you identify your weaknesses, you identify your opportunities, you identify your threats first when starting off your organization. Then you should have your organizational strategy that will shape the direction your business is going. And like I said, it's not cast in stone. It's a working document. That means it is subject to changes and adoption or adjustment. You may say, we want to achieve this in Q3 of 2022, for example. By the end of Q2 2022, you know what is working and what is not working. So you will need to do some adjustment in your Q3 goal. So you go back to that your strategy document and make adjustment as much as is permissible by your business. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Veronica. Okay, Nkiru Osisiama, can you ask your question, please?
I sent a message earlier. I worked in a government organization and I have retired. I worked in admin and I worked in Federal Ministry of Education. But now I have an NGO. I want to know the difference between the admin unit and human resource unit, because in government setting they are the same. But now from what Veronica has said, it's like there are two units. So I want to know the difference, and I want to appreciate her for this laudable lecture. It's very, very impactful to me. Thank you.
All right, thank
You're
you so
welcome.
much.
Do I address you as Mrs.?
Mrs. Nkiru Cynthia Osisiama. I retired as a director in Federal Ministry of Education after 35 years of service, but I'm not tired. I have a lot of experiences to share.
Interesting.
Carry us on so that we'll be able to reach other people, especially at the local communities.
Okay, that's great. And I
Thank
must commend you that even after retirement, you are not tired.
I'm not tired.
And you're still making impact. Please keep it up.
Yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
back to your question. The issue of HR and admin functioning as one is actually of recent that advances in studies, and then as a result of globalization, there are influences that occurs at the organizational level, right? And then studies, researches, and all of that around organizational behavior have shown that organizations, there is no specific rule, but depending on the size of your organization and your capacity as an organization, then you will look at what would work best for your organization. Now, because the practice in public service institutions, there is no difference between the human resources and the admin unit, you find out that there are high incidences of missing documents, and there are high incidences of people's issues not being resolved within a specific turnaround time. I know this is beyond you, but it is a place we can start the conversation in civil service reforms. Now, for example, if your organization is lumping HR and admin operations as one, they are two different functions. So there is need to adjust. But for small business owners, please, in order not to overstretch your budget, at a small level, you can function as one unit, but for institutions like ministries of education and big organizations, it shouldn't function as one, please. Human resources is very broad. Like in MBA course, it's a whole lot. It involves a whole lot.
from the moment an employee joins an organization, till the day they are leaving their organization. That is what HR does. It has to do with what? How you recruit the person, how you make the person settle into your organization, how the person relates with his or her colleagues, that's how the person receives his or her salary. Do you get? There are organizations that have a special unit that manages salaries. Do you get? And then how colleagues interrelate with each other in the organization. All that is under HR function. But when it comes to administration, it has to do with how comfortable are employees when they come to office. Your door is supposed to be open by 7 a.m. so that when employees come at 8 a.m., they are well settled. That is admin function. Admin is to ensure how clean the office is, the materials needed by employees to work. Admin is to ensure that the right quantity is made available at the end of each month. And when employees need it, admin is to make it available. When employees need to go out, the transportation, admin is supposed to take responsibility for it. If you look at these items I'm listing out, you will know that they are quite demanding. So it will be unwise to merge the HR function and the admin function as one business unit for a big organization. Thank you.
All right, so thank you very much, Veronica. We are want of time and we will not be able to take any other questions. So please, Ojeru, say just note down your question till Thursday. You will give you the opportunity to ask that. So I want to appreciate everyone for being part of today's class. And we hope to see you again on Thursday, same time, 11 a.m. Now remember, your qualification of a certificate for each of the module is only guaranteed when you attend 80% attendance in a physical location, not online, in a physical location. So visit any of the American spaces closest to you, especially in the southern region, Lagos, Abeokuta, Ibadan, Uyo, Calabar, Benin, Enugu, Oka. In Lagos, we have 4 American Center. Here, we have in VI, we have in Lekki, and we have in Ikeja. So please be part of us next week, Thursday.
Yeah, hello, sir. Please, I have a question though. Please.
Yep, sir, we're out of time. This is 7 minutes past 1 already.
Yeah, I know it's from you. It's just what you just said not quite long ago now.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, you said the certificate issuing is I have to be in the center physically.
Yes.
Because
that's the only thing that can guarantee you getting a certificate. It's open for you to attend online, but we will not guarantee giving you a certificate for that. So
what if my attendance on the online platform is 100%, for example?
Yeah, there's no way we'll verify. There's no way we'll verify that, but the criteria is that you need to attend at a physical location. Thank you so much, everyone. So at this point, we want to say thank you to our facilitator, Veronica. God bless you once again. And we know that Thursday is going to be a loaded package again. So thank you all. And at this point, I want to say bye-bye to all of us.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.